Have you ever noticed something strange about yourself? You can turn down a person, but you can't stop being online. You know that moment when you cancel something and instantly feel better? Think about tonight. You canceled your plans. You told them you couldn't make it, and immediately you felt a wave of relief. You took a deep breath. You finally had the night to yourself. But for the next 5 hours, you didn't rest. You didn't meditate or sleep. You stayed on your phone. You were scrolling, watching, and reacting to the world. You just weren't facing it. The truth is, it might not be that you love being alone. It might be that you've grown to prefer a much easier way of connecting. But here's the strange part. Think back to the moment you decided to cancel. You probably spent an hour thinking of the perfect excuse. You rehearsed the tone of your message in your head. You wanted to sound busy or tired or just apologetic enough that they wouldn't ask questions. The second you hit send, the air in the room felt lighter. It was a clean break. But you didn't put the phone down. Instead, you opened a video app. You traded a real conversation for 1,000 15-second clips. Have you ever noticed what happens next? Maybe half an hour later, you found yourself doing something even stranger. You clicked on the Instagram story of the very party you just skipped. You saw them laughing. You saw the drinks on the table and the crowded room. You didn't regret staying home. You didn't suddenly want to be there. You just watched, quietly, like you were still there, but not really. You just wanted to check. You wanted to make sure that the world you walked away from was still spinning without you. It's a pattern that shows up in the smallest habits. It's the way you stare at your phone while it rings, watching the name on the screen, waiting for it to stop so you can text them back instead. It's the way you spend 10 minutes editing a single sentence in a group chat, only to delete the whole thing and send a generic emoji. It's the way you find yourself watching the same video for the 3rd time tonight, not because it's interesting, but because it's safe. You aren't avoiding social interaction. You're just becoming used to interacting in a world that never asks you for an immediate response. And this is where things start to shift. Why has real life started to feel so difficult? Because real life doesn't wait for you. Real-world interaction is live. You say something and it lands, or it doesn't. There's no undo, no edit, no second draft. But online, you can pause, rewrite, disappear for 10 minutes and come back like nothing happened. And once your brain gets used to that, it doesn't want to go back. You aren't necessarily a loner. You're someone who has gotten used to low-cost connection. When you spend most of your life behind a screen, something subtle starts to happen. Your brain adapts. It learns that social interaction should be controllable. It learns that you should be able to pause a conversation whenever you feel tired. And once you get used to that control, the physical world starts to feel overwhelming, loud, unpredictable, exhausting. You aren't born to be a homebody. You are slowly being trained to be one. Not all at once, just a little every day. You haven't stopped wanting to connect. You've just found a way to get the reward without the risk. But here's the part most people don't realize. You didn't actually leave the social world. You just moved to a version of it where you can't get hurt as easily. So maybe you aren't socially anxious in the way people usually mean. Maybe you are a selective connector. You choose the screen because there is no risk of a cold stare or a misunderstood comment. Everything is filtered. Everything is safe. But let's look at this differently for a moment. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. For some of us, staying inside and staying online isn't about being lazy or antisocial. It's because the modern world is a lot to handle. Between the constant noise of the city and the pressure of everyday life, the digital space becomes the only place where we can actually breathe. It's where we get to decide who gets our energy and when. So maybe you think you are making a choice to be alone, but maybe it's not that simple. Maybe you aren't moving away from the world. You've just found a different way to stay close to it. A way that doesn't hurt as much. A way that lets you stay in your pajamas while still feeling like you belong somewhere. I want to leave you with one question. If real life had a pause button, or an edit feature, or a delete key, would you still choose to stay home tonight? Or would you be out there, right in the middle of it all? I think we all have a version of this story. What's the most ridiculous excuse you've ever made just to stay home and scroll? Tell me in the comments. I think we all have at least one.